Welcome to all. In this session, we will see some of the identifiers, some of the libraries, and some of the keywords reserved in Java. So, each and every programming language has got some reserved keywords so that those keywords can be used for the programming. So, as of now, you have learned C and C++. In those languages, I'm pretty sure that you would have used so many keywords, isn't it? It may be int, it may be while, it may be for, isn't it? Those keywords cannot be used as a variable name in your program. You just can use all those things for a specific work. In the same fashion, Java also has its own reserved or keywords. Okay, see, I have listed out some of the keywords over there. Even Java has got almost 50 to 51 keywords, so I did not put all the keywords, but these are the basically used keywords in Java. The first one is abstract. It specifies that a class or method will be implemented later in a subclass. So isn't it, in C++ also you would have done some abstract classes, isn't it? For the future purpose, you will be dealing with the or you will be creating the classes. Okay, the next one is Boolean. Boolean is a data type that can hold true or and false values only. So Boolean or bool, in C or in C++ you would have used this keyword bool to store the logical value, either it is true or false. Okay, the next one is break. So it is used to break the loop. Okay, so if you are using any looping statements in your programming, you can make use of break keyword to stop that particular loop. The next one is byte. So this is a new concept to you. It is in Java actually. Byte is a data type actually. It is not like say byte in general. What is the size of a byte? Byte is nothing but 8 bits, isn't it? So in the same fashion, here in Java, byte can be used as a data type which can hold 8 bit of data value. Okay, now next is case. Case is for switch statements. So in C or C++ you would have used this particular concept, case. Maybe in this one as well. You are in your JavaScript also. If you have studied JavaScript, there also you can make use of case statements. Okay, the next thing is catch. So in exception handling, usually you use try catch block. So if you are new to exception handling, you are going to study in Java, but if you have already studied in C++, then you are making use of same concept in in Java with some extended little more features of exception handling. Okay, the next thing is char. Char is nothing but character set, so it will hold unsigned 16-bit of Unicode characters. Okay, the next thing is class. Class is nothing but it is a if you want to create a new class, then you will be using this class as a keyword. Then continue, it sends a control back outside a loop. So if you want to send the control outside the loop or a running loop, then you can make use of continue keyword. Okay, then next one is default. It specifies the default block of a code in a switch statement. So you would have seen this. If you are using switch case statements, definitely you will be using a default at the end, isn't it? In same fashion, you can make use of this default keyword in Java as well. Next, do is nothing but do while loop. So it is a kind of loop available in Java as well. Next, then you are going to deal with the double. So it is also a data type and it can hold 64-bit floating point numbers. Okay, now else. So if else statement can be used in Java as well. So Java supports this particular conditional statements. Okay, the next thing is extends. So it indicates that class is derived from another class or interface. So in Java, if you are using or if you are using the concept of inheritance, you will be using this extends keyword. Okay, so if you want to extend a particular class, the features of a particular class to another class, then definitely you will be using extend. Okay, here the inheritance concept mainly deals with this extends keyword. Now next one is final. Indicates that a variable holds a constant value or that method will not be overridden. So it is a concept of overriding. Okay, so you will be using this keyword while writing running the program. That time you will execute some code and you will execute some program and you will get the better picture of final keyword. Next one is float. So float is nothing but a data type. It can hold 32-bit floating point number. Next one is for. So it is another loop which is available in programming language. So you would have used this for loop in C and C++. Even Java supports for loop. Okay. Next is Java identifiers. So it's a small code snippet I have given over there. You can look over that particular code snippet. So public class test. So name of the class is test, and the access specifier for this class is public. So this class can be accessed by anyone. So it is actually a public access specifier. Then they have mentioned main method. So that method has a public static void main. In the brackets you are going to use that arguments, so string arguments. So I have already explained the structures of a simple Java program in a previous video, so you can go through it. If you if you are confusing with any statements, you can just go and check in that particular video. Next one is, so what actually we are doing there, we are trying to initialize a value 20 to the variable a with the data type int, isn't it? Integer. That is the meaning of that statement, isn't it? Int space a equal to 20 means you are going to store value 20 in a variable called a which has the type integer. That is the meaning of that particular instruction. Okay, see, in the above Java code we have actually total 5 identifiers. So there are nothing but test. First one is test. Test is nothing but a class name. So class name is also an identifier. Next, the method name. Method name is nothing main. So we have in this particular code snippet, we have only one method, that is nothing but main method. So main is also an identifier. The next one is a string. So it is a predefined class name. So in the previous video I said why we are actually passing that particular parameter for main method. So that is also an identifier. Then args, it is a variable name. It is a string variable name. It is also an identifier. And the last but not the least, it is a is also a variable name and it is an identifier in Java. So there are some rules which has to be followed to write or to deal with these identifiers. Let us see what are the rules for defining Java identifiers. Okay, the first one is the only allowed characters for identifiers are all alphanumeric characters. See, alphanumeric means capital A to Z, small a to Z, as well as 0 to 9. So these set are called as alphanumeric characters. Okay, that means you cannot use any special characters, isn't it? Can you use dollar and underscore? Actually, in identifiers, except these dollar and underscore, you cannot you cannot use rest of the characters. See, in example also they have given geek at the rate, isn't it? Geek at the rate. It is not a valid Java identifier because it contains a special character. So you should not be using any special characters in identifiers. The next point is identifiers should not start with the digit 0 to 9. So they have given an example as well. You can see that particular example. See, it is not a special thing actually. In C and C++ also you followed the same identifier rule. So Java also follows the same identifier rule. You are not learning anything new here, but as a part of syllabus I just added all the points and all the details in the slide. You can go through these slides. Let me explain a little bit. I am not denying that I am not going to explain. I will be explaining, but you actually have followed all these identifier rules in your previous programming languages. Okay, the next point is Java identifiers are case sensitive. Definitely, in the last video I said if you are using capital S or if you are using any capital letter, the same letter has to be used throughout the program. If you are using any word with the capital letter or uppercase letter, the same word has to be used throughout the program if you want to make use of that particular variable or function name or anything. Okay, so Java is a case sensitive language. Okay, the next point is there is no limit on the length of the identifier, but it is advisable to use an optimum length of 4 to 15 letters only. So they are giving some constraint for this particular length of the identifier, but definitely, as they said, as they mentioned earlier, there is no actually limit, but it is better if you restrict your length of identifier to 4 to 15 letters, because just for the ease of use, it is better to restrict the length of the identifier. Okay, now reserved word cannot be used as an identifier. For example, int while equal to 20. So it definitely, this statement will be not valid, isn't it? It will be an invalid statement or instruction, because while is a reserved keyword, isn't it? While is it, see, you are using while keyword for while loop, isn't it? Do while loop as well as while loop, the same cannot be used as a variable. You cannot initialize any value to reserved keywords. So this is one of the rule which is available in Java, not only in Java, in all, like in C or C++, in almost all the programming languages, those supports reserved keywords. So reserved keywords cannot be initialized with any values. You have to remember this particular thing. So there are 53 reserved words in Java, so you should remember that number also. So that means, see, I completely agree that it is not easy to by heart each and every keywords, or you cannot easily remember each and every predefined or reserved keywords. But by practicing programming, by practicing lot of programs, at least you can remember some, isn't it? So that is the reason why, remember one thing: whenever you are dealing with any identifiers, make sure that it is a case sensitive and you follow these particular rules for defining the identifiers. The next thing is Java class libraries. Java is not dependent on any specific operating system. So what does this mean? So Java can be used in any platforms. It may be Linux, it may be Android or OS, it may be Windows OS, it may be, if you're using Macintosh systems, then iOS. So it can be used. Java can be implemented or installed in any particular operating system. It has not, it is not having any particular restriction on any platforms. So that is the meaning of that particular point. So they can be, we can use some native libraries. Okay, so if there is any problem while installing the Java or running any programming in a particular platform, then definitely we can make use of some libraries. See, libraries means, so definitely you may ask, what you mean by libraries, or what is package, sir? So it is nothing but, it is like a middleman, isn't it? It is like a stub. It is like a supporting code. Okay, let me give one real-time example for this. See, packages. See, in Java you use so many packages for your programming or application development. So packages are nothing but, packages or libraries are nothing but, see, let me give one real-time example. So for example, you want a shirt. So there are two options for you. Either you can go for ready-made shirt or you can go for stitching the shirt. Okay, so if the ready-made shirt has got all the requirements what you are expecting, like it may be a color, it may be a styling quotient, it may be a the size, if everything is available, definitely you will go for ready-made shirt instead of going for stitching, isn't it? Stitching the shirt takes more time, but ready-made, you just pay the money, get the shirt, and you can ready to go, isn't it? In the same fashion, if something is readily available, definitely you can borrow that thing, or you can inherit that particular package, or concepts or properties available in that particular package. Then you can implement your own code over there, and you can run your own application, or you can develop your own application with the simple code set, or with the simple manner. So that is the reason why we will be using, as a developer, we will be using libraries or packages in our particular programming. Okay, the next thing is data types and operators. See, some of the data types I have already listed out in reserved keywords, but let us see some of the data types and operators in depth. So Java is having primitive types. Java defines 8 primitive types of data. byte, short, int, long, char, float, double, and boolean. So in this particular data types, byte is a new data type which you haven't seen in your previous programming languages, isn't it? Rest of the things are already, I guess, you might have used, because int is frequently used, then long you would have used, char is frequently used, float also is frequently used one, double and boolean are rarely used, because I don't think you would have used these data types in your C or C++ programming language. But these are the primitive types which are available in Java as well as C as well. Okay, so these are the commonly these data types are commonly referred as simple types. Okay, now the next point is integers. The group includes byte, short, int, and long, which are for whole valued signed numbers. So what is the difference between signed numbers and unsigned numbers? See, unsigned numbers means it allows only positive numbers. It cannot be used, that variables cannot be used for negative, or you cannot initialize any negative value in that particular variable. So signed, if you are specifically writing signed data type in the programming instruction, definitely that means that variable will be having the caliber to store either negative or positive numbers. Okay, so that is the meaning. Next one is floating point numbers. This group includes float and double, which represents numbers with the fractional precision. So definitely if you are using any decimal dot concepts, if the number is like 5.7 or 200.85, so in those cases you will be using floating point number data type. Okay, or system. Next thing is characters. So this group includes char, which represents symbol in a character set like letters and numbers. So characters can be numbers as well as letters. So you would have used this char keyword in the previous programming language. Even Java supports the same. Okay, the next thing is boolean. This group indicates includes boolean, which is a special type for representing true or false values. So these are the logical values which can be used for your application development. If the answer should be either true or false, definitely you can go for this particular data type. Based on your requirement or based on your application development's requirement, you can make use of this particular keyword or data type. The next thing is integer. So they have given some points in depth for integers. Java defines 4 integer types: byte, short, int, and long. All these are signed, positive, and negative values. Okay, this point was explained by me a few minutes back. So the same concept they have written over there. Next, the thing is Java does not support unsigned. You have to remember this, positive only integers. Okay, Java does not support unsigned, positive only integers. That means Java will never want to work on unsigned variables, because when signed variable or whenever you are using signed keyword and you are trying to initialize any value to a particular variable, then what is the use of unsigned? Definitely Java will ask this question, isn't it? When you can use positive value as well as negative value in a particular variable, when you can store such kind of values in a variable, then there is no space for unsigned variable or unsigned data type. So that is the reason why Java does not support unsigned concept. Okay, the next point is byte. The smallest integer type is byte. You have to remember this. If the question is like what is the smallest data type available in Java, definitely you should be going for the answer byte. You should say byte. Okay, this is a signed 8-bit type that has a range from -128 to 127. So they have given some example as well how to declare the byte data type along with the variables. So B and C will be having the data type byte. That means B and C can store the value with the 8 bits. Okay, the size will be 8 bits. Okay, the next one is short. Short is signed 16-bit type. So that means it is a double than your byte or your previous data type, isn't it? So it is a signed 16-bit type. It has the range from some 32,768 to minus 32,768 to 32,767. So those are the ranges. They are saying that even what will be the range of your short data type. That is the reason why they have given that numbers. Next thing is int. The most commonly used integer type is int. It is a signed 32-bit type that has a range from it is a big range, it's a big number. So you don't need to by heart this actually. Just you can remember this, you remember the point that integer has 32-bit type. It is a signed 32-bit, isn't it? 32-bit is nothing but 4 byte, isn't it? So byte is our 8-bit range, short is 2 byte, that is nothing but 16-bit, and int is 4 byte, it is nothing but 32-bit. Okay, now next data type is long. Long is signed 64-bit type, and it is useful for those occasions wherein int type is not large enough to hold the desirable value. So if the value is very large and it is very difficult to handle, or if the number is very big or very gigantic number if you have, then definitely you can go for longer data type. That is the meaning. Okay, the next one is float. The type float specifies a single precision value that uses 32-bit of storage. So you should remember this, bit. What is a bit of data types? The reason why, because whenever you are using any data type, if the bit value is big, then it requires that many bits in your storage as well. So if you are writing a very large code, if you are frequently using so many data types, that definitely means how many number of variables you used in your program, that many number of storage also you used in your system. That is the reason why while writing any programming, it has to be efficient as well as it has to be performance oriented. That is the reason while declaring any variable, as a good programmer, we have to think twice of those particular variables. Whether it is required, then only you have to be using this particular the variables in your program. The next one is double precision, as denoted by the double keyword, uses 64-bit to store a value. That means if you, in your program, if you have a variable with the double data type and if you are storing some data, ultimately it will be using 64 bits in your storage space. You have to remember like that. Okay, the next one is characters. In C++, char is 8-bit wide. This is not the case in Java. So in C++, characters were having the size of 8 bits, but in Java uses Unicode to represent characters. Okay, Unicode defines a fully international character set that can represent all of the characters found in all human language. So why it is required like that? Because Java is widely used. You can develop any kind of application using Java. So if Java requires to represent any languages in the world, it has to be stored in somewhere, isn't it? If you are restricting your data type with some bits, then it will be difficult for Java to represent such kind of languages. So that is the reason why Java even preserves some space for their programmers or their developers, where they can use some of the characters as a Unicode and they can store those characters for the development purpose. That is the reason why they have gone for characters data type, which will hold Unicode values. Okay, the last but not the least, Booleans. Java has a primitive type called Boolean. For logical values, it can only have two possible values, true or false. So I have already given some example for Boolean. So Boolean can be used if the program needs some logical values only. So that is the reason why they have given this Boolean data type for developing purpose. So these are some of the keywords as well as identifiers and libraries concept. And see, we have dealt all these concepts as of now. So so these are the concepts you have to remember. So this is not the new concept to you all people. already you have gone through these things in your C and C++, but there are some difference in this particular Java, like byte and characters and signed and unsigned concepts. So you have to remember those things, so that if the question arises in your program, final exam or in your internals, you should be able to write the answer for those. Okay, that is the reason why I put all these things in the slides. Otherwise you have already gone through these concepts. Not necessary actually, we can directly start with the actual programming, but these concepts are required to brush up, and you can brush up your previous concepts and you can recall all the concepts, so that Java cannot be Java should not be difficult for you in your upcoming days. That is the reason why I just try to brush up all the concepts. Okay, so let me wind up here. We will see some more concepts in upcoming videos, but as of now, let us wind up here till here. Okay, so thanks for watching.